We get to the fantasy football season. Here's a few wide receivers I have as sleepers this week. The first receiver is Sterling Shepard of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, out there in tons of fantasy leagues, 92%. We know Mike Evans, Chris Godwin are out, and especially Godwin out for the season. Evans 3 games for this Buck team. And Sterling Shepard, he's been operating as that number 4 wide receiver before these two players went down. So we're out there in 92% of leagues. And he's going to get decent looks, I believe, with this Tampa Bay Buck team. To go with Jalen McMillan as the starters. Week 5 at Atlanta in that game, catch 4 yards, a touchdown. Week 6 at the Saints, 4 carries, surprisingly. Carries, 31 yards, 3 catches, 23 yards. In Week 7 versus Baltimore, we didn't see anything pretty much. A catch, 15 yards, and a 2-point conversion. So this week, another matchup versus the Falcons where they versed in Week 5, and Shepard had 7.40 fantasy points. But now with an expanded role and playing with a quarterback like Baker Mayfield, who we know is a gunslinger, Shepard's definitely a deep league dive and a sleeper option, but definitely someone who could emerge in this offense as a veteran and someone who just wanted another opportunity. After many seasons, he's had injuries. So this week, I have Shepard as a sleeper. Next sleeper, Bub Means of the New Orleans Saints. Shaheed out for the season. Bub Means, the last couple weeks, he's had an expanded role. Week 6 versus Tampa, 5 catches, 45 yards, a touchdown, 8 targets. In Week 7 versus Denver, 3 catches, 37 yards. So this week, not a great matchup at the Chargers. I give up the second least amount of fantasy points to wide receivers on the season. But like I said, there's not much going on in the receiving room over there for this New Orleans Saints team. They were so desperate, they went out there and signed Marquez Valdes-Scantling to a contract, even though he hasn't really done much over the last few seasons. So means he's out there in 94% of fantasy leagues. I think he's a wide receiver that's going to get a look. Think about it. They're 2-5 on the season, is this New Orleans Saints team. And if they lose this week, obviously they're most likely not going to make the playoffs. And it's going to be about playing the young guys. So Bub Means, if you want to get ahead of it and at least stash him on your roster, I believe he could be a sleeper option and surprise people this week. And the final wide receiver I have as a sleeper this week, Cedric Tillman of the Cleveland Browns. Cedric Tillman, last week he had a monster ball game, and now with Jameis Winston in there, quarterback. We know Jameis Winston, he's not scared of throwing the football down the field, throwing 50-50 balls, and Cedric Tillman was a third rounder a few years ago for this Cleveland Brown team. And now obviously with Amari Cooper traded away a couple weeks ago to the Buffalo Bills, Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, the only wide receivers over there. And we know this Brown team, they're pretty much out of it on the season. 1-6 on the year. Last week we saw good flashes from Tillman. 8 catches, 81 yards, and a 2-point conversion on 12 targets. So this ball game, they're going to be trailing early and often, is this Cleveland Brown team, I believe. And just Cedric Tillman is definitely a receiver who had upside in coming out of college football, but just didn't get many opportunities. So this week, I believe he's going to get good opportunities once again. And at least he's playing with Jameis Winston, that we know he could stretch the field and get the football down the field. So that's a few wide receivers I have as sleepers for week 8 of the fantasy football season.